and welcome to this very special program, Talking to the Scholars at Indian Institute of Public Administration. I'm Rakhee Bakshee. In this program, we are going to talk to our own faculty members who are very experienced, veteran in their own fields. And today we have one amongst them. We have Professor Ashok Vishandass ji with us, and he's going to talk about Central Training Institutes, a study that is done among various ones. To tell you more about him, he's been the chairman of CACP, which is at the Secretary of Government of India level. He was also with FAO at United Nations. He was also holding a lot of important positions earlier before he joined IIPA, and now also is a professor at Indian Institute of Public Administration. He's done various projects and studies, and today he's going to talk about this favorite study, as he says, about CTIs. So I'm going to talk to him about that. Welcome to this special program, Professor Das.
Thank you, Mrs. Bakshee.
Yeah. So, the first thing we would like to tell our viewers is that what this study has been all about in terms of why it was mounted, something that we're talking about. This is CTIs. And what was the whole objective?
This study you are referring to the evaluation of outcome and output of Central Training Institute under Government of India. This was sponsored by the NITI Aayog to track how many Central Training Institutes are there, how they are performing, and how the training needs are being made. Earlier, prior to this, the DOPT did a similar study. They enumerated only 134 training institute, but that included state training institute and other training institute. Here the NITI Aayog wanted only the Central Training Institute, and so it was first of its kind.
And one would ask that how it really contributed. I mean, what kind of contribution it made into understanding of this whole status of CTIs?
The Central Training Institute, the mandate is to impart training. Now what was happening, the training was restricted to senior officers of All India Service and other group pay service by and large. But training has to be on all employees, that means the civil servant from top man, that means chairman to the lineman. And there are about 2.6 crores civil servants, and many of them were not covered under the training. Therefore, their role is much more challenging to cover such a huge population of the civil servant.
Okay, so is there any data, statistics, or in terms of volume, what were we looking at? What understanding did it give you?
What we did, first there were, after a lot of efforts, we found that there are 790 such training institutes in the country which were not known to anybody up to that time. We finished this study in January 2022, and what we found, that large number of training institutes are there, and many of them, they are contributing a lot to the civil servant and thereby to the government. Basically, the training is a kind of investment in the employee's productivity. Therefore, training attains a lot of importance, and training cannot be by chance, and nor learning is by it's a matter of faith. Learning has to be very continuous, and consciously it has to be done.
Okay, how nicely you put it, that learning has to be a continuum, I would say.
Yes.
And that's where I would like to connect that to outcomes. Finally, what really resulted in terms of our understanding but actionable ideas?
The training is important when it is anytime, anywhere. Now, it also has a context of the COVID. Preceding this study, there was a COVID period where many of the institutions were closed, and it came to grinding hard. So what we found, and IIPA took an initiative during this COVID period preceding completion of this, we did a digital training program. Because having due regard to the huge population of civil servants, which I said about 2.6 crore people, how to meet their demand, and the demand was only way you have a digital training, and then digital training requires a kind of different platform. Now government after that started IGOT, Integrated Government Online Training. Now this has to be propagated in a mission mode on a large scale, and therefore this assumes importance. Let me give one example. When a common citizen goes to say post office or travels in a train, now for him or her, it doesn't matter which department or ministry that person or that particular organization or the infrastructure he or she is using. For her, the behavior of TTE or a postman in post office is the government. And that person, the citizen, forms an opinion about the entire government on the basis of her experience with those employees. Therefore, the training of everybody is very important.
Professor Das, we would also like to know about the key takeaways. I mean, what did you find out?
Out of 790 Central Training Institute, only 382 responded to our questionnaire. We framed a very scientific framework, and then we found many good things, but 2-3 things are very important. If we analyze their objective, so out of those 382 CTI who responded, 245 institutions have very common overlapping objective. On an average, we found 5.2 objectives of each of CTI are being overlapped. So we have to examine how we can synchronize them so that they come to a common platform. Second, the total area of the land is inelastic and it has a high opportunity cost. About 20,221 acres of land is occupied by these training institutes. On an average, 56 acres of land per CTI is being occupied. One has to examine whether it's worthwhile. And third is that there is lack of interaction between the CTI, because this all CTI come under Government of India. Therefore, those resources has to be judicially used for the benefit of the MDO. When I say MDO, it means Ministry, Department, and Organization and their employees. How best we can utilize those resources. And my understanding is that this resource, land and the other infrastructure, needs to be fully exploited.
And that's where, Professor Das, you're talking about the competency, the capability, and that's what IIPA is actually looking at, isn't it?
Yes.
Creating more capacity in terms of, as you rightly said, behavioral and professional both. So thank you